It's 1:03, and I would like to call the meeting to order of the San Mateo County Harbor Board of Commissioners today, June 16th at 1:03. Can we have a roll call, please, Melanie?
President Chang Corrali.
Present.
Commissioner Ryring.
Present.
Commissioner Zemke.
Present.
Commissioner Lorenz.
Here.
Great. We have a quorum, and I believe Commissioner Matoush is absent today.
Yes.
If you can mark him as such, that would be great. So I will open our first item up, which is public comment, to anyone who would like to address the Harbor Board for a limit of 2 minutes for items that are not on the agenda. If you would like to address anything that's not on the agenda, this is your time to do so. And I see one hand from Mr. William Smith. Welcome and thank you.
Good afternoon, commissioners and harbor master and all. My name is Captain William Smith, vessel Riptide. My general comment is going forward with the relaxation of COVID rules, there have been a lot of changes, of which one is holding these meetings online. Going forward, I would like to see that continue in some aspect. So those of us who are not able to physically attend can still participate in the meeting in a format very similar to this. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Melanie, I don't see any other hands. Do you have any emails or anything?
No, I don't see any hands.
Great, then I will close public comment, and then we'll now go to item C, which is the consent calendar. So if anyone would like to pull any items off, I know that I have an item that I want to pull off, but this is the time to do it. And I'd like to pull off item number 8.
I'd like to pull item number 6.
Anyone else?
I'm fine.
Commissioner Lorenz? Okay, great. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar, items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? And let's do a roll call, please, Melanie.
Commissioner Ryring.
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke.
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz.
Aye.
President Chang Corrali.
Aye, so that motion carries. So we have 2 items from the consent calendar that have been pulled, and now we're at item D, which is discussion. And I'm going to just move the 2 consent items that are pulled to the beginning of the discussion before we get into the normal discussion items. So this would be, the first item was number 6, which is the 2021 goals and objectives mid-year update. So General Manager Pruitt, if you'd like to just give us an update, I think there's probably a lot of good stuff that people should be aware of. So take it away, please.
Yes, and thank you very much, President Chang Corrali and commissioners. This is on the agenda this month as a midpoint of the calendar year for the goals and objectives for the year 2021. I wanted to keep the public up to date on how we're doing in meeting these goals and objectives as we approach the mid-period or go past the mid-period. The first goal and objective that we presented, I presented these goals and objectives to the board earlier this year. Why isn't my mouse moving? This year on February 10th, and the board gave some input and advice, and these are the resulting goals and objectives for the general manager that we completed. The first was to just complete the district master plan. The board on February 17th, the board on the 17th approved DUDAC as the company to help us in developing a comprehensive master plan. They have begun their efforts. They've already done condition surveys and summary reports for both Oyster Point and Phillip Point Harbor. And those surveys and summary reports on the condition of assets at both harbors will be placed on the master plan website this week. They also did two separate canvassing events, one at Oyster Point on June 5th and one at Pillar Point Harbor just this last weekend on June 12th. They got several canvassing questionnaires back. They were able to engage with well over 100 people as they walked around the two facilities with those canvassing surveys to address that. And I'm very happy with the results that they were able to gain. They are going to, the first public workshop is scheduled for July 13th. It'll be held via Zoom. The president of the board has already called this as a special meeting so all board members can participate and be engaged with that workshop number one. The following workshop is August 10th. Again, it's been called as a special meeting. And then the third workshop will be scheduled for late fall after we get the inputs from 1 and 2 and to develop that third workshop and a best state for that. The final master plan is scheduled to be delivered in February 2022, but we're working very hard to try to speed that up to get a good document and good product for us to use as a tool to move the district forward by December of this year. That's still my goal. The second one was to complete and implement the comprehensive Johnson Pier safety study. We had multiple meetings, the tenants of Johnson Pier, tenants at the Till Terminus to develop the safety plan. We brought it back to the board and the tenants pretty much in large approved with the safety plan. And it was approved on the 19th and we are implementing that safety plan as we speak. And prior to the squid season, which is looks like it's going to be coming in a couple of weeks. The water quality at the beaches at Pillar Point, we're still working on that. We're developing to develop execute a comprehensive plan and work with local agencies and organizations. On May 19th, the board approved funding to execute the professional service agreement with the RCD to continue their services to the district to assist us in developing that plan. And then on March 24th, the general manager and director of operations met with SAM, the Sewer Authority Mid-Coast, and the RCD to discuss water-related issues and the possibilities of reestablishing the Coastside 1 Water Working Group, which looks like it's going to happen late this summer, early fall. And that's good news for us. Real property leases. Well, we have 3 we need to work on this year. One's for Catch Joanne Harbor Restaurant Harbor Bar. The other's for Maverick Surf Shop. And then the third is to amend the RV park restroom, the RV park lease based on the RV park restroom and green space project. All those leases are on schedule to be implemented and signed this year, as we are in preliminary discussions with both Catch Joanne Restaurant and with Maverick Surf Shop. Once we get a little closer to completing the park with the RV park, we'll enter into negotiations with that. The number 5 was to complete the commercial activity permit review and update. We did that for charter passenger vessels, shore-based activities, and miscellaneous like weddings. Was approved by the Board of Harbor Commissioners on February 17th this year. We're working on the off-the-boat commercial activity permits and how they should be formatted and what they should say. We had a public workshop on June 10th of this year, which was extremely well attended, and we got a lot of great feedback, which we're now going through, and we'll be coming back to them and to the board with an amended report based on all the great feedback we got from the users of the harbor and off the dock. I was very happy with the feedback and the participation level that we received that evening. The Special Districts Leadership Foundation District Transparency Certificate of Excellence. Happy to report again that this is completed. The district certificate expires now in March 2023. We're very proud of that accomplishment also. And thanks to our staff enabling us to meet that goal. Complete a comprehensive and balanced budget. The budget will be presented to the final budget for fiscal year 21-22 will be presented for the board for adoption at today's board meeting. And that's due to all the great work of Julie and her staff. So thank you very much on that. Earn a clean, unmodified opinion. That's pending. I expect that we'll get it just like we did last year. We'll receive another unmodified opinion this year due to the great work of staff. Earned budget recognition by the Government Finance Officers Association for the first time last year. San Mateo County Harbor District got recognized nationally for the quality of our budget, and we're going to resubmit again to get that recognition. They've also raised the bar on what you need to earn that recognition, since we've already earned it once. So we have to go even higher on the quality of our budget to get that award, and we're on track for that. Enterprise Resource Planning System, which a lot of people have been asking for, so you can pay your bills online and look up a lot of different stuff about the district and billing. It also integrates all our computer systems into one, which is make it a lot easier for us to track and manage our budget and our staffing and our activities. We signed a contract with a company, Tyler Technologies, to get this done. We've already had several meetings with them, including I think it was a 30-hour scheduled interactive meeting between the district and Tyler to get it off the ground. And this system is progressing and it's on time, which is great news. Plans, the training plan and communication plan are in process and pending, and the cyber plan will be presented to the board today. Capital improvement projects. This is a great area of activity for us. The Catch Joanne Accessible Restroom Project it's pending, it's on time. Design and engineering is around 95% now and actively seeking all required permits. The RV restroom and green space improvement project is at the same status at 95% and seeking permits. I've already submitted it to Half Moon Bay for permitting. Oyster Point Marina dock surveys, no action this year, but will be required next year. So we're on track for that. Oyster Point Marina dock replacements for docks 12, 13, and 14. Designing and engineering is around 70%, and again, in the permitting phase. Surfers Beach Restoration Dredge Project, which is a very large project for us. Our goal was to complete eel gas study and mitigation plan and obtain permits. Happy to report that this is also progressing and on time. We should be able to mitigate the eelgrass in the eelgrass growing season this spring. West Trail Shoreline Protection Project. Design and engineering is complete, actively seeking all required permits. On May 19th, the bids we got to carry out the project were all rejected by the district, and we're actively resoliciting now, which is expected to cause about a 90-day delay, but shouldn't have a significant impact on the project. And again, believe we're on schedule for this. Replacement vessels and vehicles, we're putting that on hold this year till next year. And I'll be recommending to the board in the future that our vehicles for the harbors start switching over to green vehicles and electric vehicles. Construction of the administration building, pending decision by the board today at this board meeting. So that's all the great work that we've been doing at the Harbor District over the last 6 months and beyond, and we're on schedule for all of our goals and objectives to meet them by the end of the year. So I'm very happy with that. Pending any, that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Ryring, you pulled this and I was remiss in not recognizing you. So please, you have the floor now. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Thanks so much, Jim. I've been getting a lot of feedback on the great work the district has been doing the last couple of years since you came on board. So I appreciate you sharing these goals and updates with our community, and I pass them along to my community. Just wanted to say thank you to you and to staff and fellow commissioners for all the hard work.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryring. Okay, so we'll move on to the second consent item that was pulled, and that's number 8, which is the Maverick Surf Company Economic and Social Impact on Pillar Point Harbor. And I pulled this because I know that this is something that the general manager wants to kind of start in terms of recognizing some of our tenants. So, Jim, would you like to kind of give a little background on why you're doing this and kind of report out about this particular tenant?
Thank you again, President Ciancarelli, commissioners. Good afternoon. This is kind of a unique and new item that I added to the agenda this board meeting, really to highlight the tenants of Pillow Point Harbor or Oyster Point Marina. And the reason I picked the surf company or Maverick Surf Company first was I saw it on other reports that Maverick Surf Company and Jeff Clark worked with Golf Association to present a locally shaped board here in El Granada in Half Moon Bay, and to present as an award to the winner of the U.S. Open for the LPGA at the Olympic Club. And I thought that was just a fantastic thing. So I got a hold of Jeff Clark and asked him to provide with me some kind of what impact has Maverick Surf Shop done to Pillow Point Harbor and the community, and just really wanted to highlight all the great work that one of our tenants is doing. This is no way of an endorsement of anything. It's more of just an outline of the great work that Jeff and Cassandra Clark have done in the harbor and in the community itself. They have had a lease with the harbor since 2010 for the Maverick Surf Shop. They have done remarkable work. They're in line with many of our strategic goals, a passion for the ocean. They honor Coastside through unique perspectives of the community. They know about, they strongly support the Mavericks competitions and the Maverick Waves, and have a connection to, of course, the pioneer, Jeff Clark. They've done a lot of different things with the contest out there at Mavericks, going from involved with the original live competitions to now the video competitions, movie and television, Riding the Giants. They were involved with that, really bringing a spotlight to Half Moon Bay and to the harbor through their efforts, which is fantastic. Water safety and water operations is a highlight or a focus of their work, and they work almost every day on broadening efforts in the water and ocean safety. In '94, they created the Mavericks Water Patrol, who conducts rescues and provides safety out on the Mavericks waves. They also serve as instructors and ambassadors for water safety while out there. Projects and the ambassadors, really, truly ambassadors for the community. And like I said recently, that they worked with the U.S. Golf Association, design and build Clark surfboard trophies, both for the USU Women's Open at the Olympic Club in San Francisco and the 2021 US Open to be held at Torrey Pines in Southern California. Again, highlighting the Mavericks Surf Shop and Pillow Point Harbor in that efforts. They also sponsor the Half Moon Bay Surf Club for both high school and middle school teams, again, supporting water safety and surfing safety. They also support Sea Hugger for water quality and keeping plastics out of the ocean, the Pacific Beach Coalition, and Save the Waves. So great efforts on water-related activities and initiatives. The economic impact of Mavericks is estimated to be $20 million in visitor dollars annually to the area, which again, Maverick Surf Shop is a big part of that. So I just kind of wanted to highlight all the great work that Maverick Surf Shop, our tenant, is doing on the community, for the harbor, and for water safety here on the coast side. It's my intent that in the future, we'll do some more of these highlights on different businesses in the harbor that do similar outreach that are in line with our goals and our objectives and our initiatives for water safety or water quality or other initiatives that line up with the harbor district itself. Pending any questions, that's my brief on this subject.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions from our commissioners or comments? Commissioner Lorenz? Commissioner Ryring? Or commissioners, and I don't mean to put y'all on the spot. I just don't see any hands raised. So
No,
I don't want to miss y'all either.
It's really good to learn about everything that they're involved in. Thanks for that report, Jim. I'm glad you presented that.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay, then let's go to our regular discussion items. Item 9, which is the Coastside Recovery Initiative presentation. So I asked this group to come and speak to us because we were the Harbor District. Well, the general manager and I were invited to kind of give a tour of the harbor in relation to this group that that started out of Half Moon Bay, and the Half Moon Bay City Council hired a consultant to help look at economic recovery within Half Moon Bay and also along the coast, because we all kind of affect each other and how we're going to recover. And so I've been invited to kind of participate and work on some of the initiatives that have been presented or were presented to us at the meeting. And I think it's important as we come out of COVID that we listen to or hear about what this group is doing, because I think they're doing important work, and I think that they're doing great work, and they're engaging residents on the coast, which, you know, is a huge part of our district, to be involved. So I've invited Erica Wood, who is the consultant with the City of Half Moon Bay, and also Karen Decker, who is on staff with the City of Half Moon Bay. So welcome. But I've also invited Rita Mancera Hernandez from Puente, because, well, and she's based out of Pescadero, because I think it's important to hear or to hear about an example of what they're doing down there, just to see, you know, what's going on in the coast. And this is out of District 5, but I know that Rita's been very active as well. So it's just, we're not endorsing any nonprofit over another, but I think that what Puente has done is a good example of what Erica and Karen, you know, and in the Half Moon Bay Chamber of Commerce as well. I see that Kristlyn is on as well, she's the CEO of the chamber, you know, what we're all trying to do to recover economically on the coast. So Erica and Karen, if you would like to take it away, we would love to see what y'all are doing. And I think it's a good opportunity for the public to learn more about what you're doing as well.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that great introduction, Madam President, and thank you for having us, commissioners, and hello to everybody in the community. My name is Karen Decker. I'm a senior management analyst with the City of Half Moon Bay, and I'm also the project manager for the Coastside Recovery Initiative. As was mentioned, I'm joined by the project's consultant, Erica Wood, and Erica and I will be sharing a presentation with you. And if you'll bear with me, I'll share my screen and I'll kick us off.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, could I get a thumbs up if you have a full screen view of the PowerPoint? Okay, excellent. Okay, great. Okay, so just some brief background on how the Coastside Recovery Initiative came to be. So if you could imagine early March in 2020, shortly before shelter in place, our city council met and held a series of listening sessions which helps them determine the upcoming year's priorities, which is also part of the budget setting process. So economic development was identified as a main priority for fiscal year 2021. And then I would say within 5 days, the pandemic took the dramatic turn that it did. And we found ourselves very much in reaction mode, like everybody else, to a very, very dynamic situation. And so rather than jumping right into economic development, really the city was in a position where we were dealing with setting up COVID testing out of the community center and responding to beach parking and beach access and droves of visitors and masks or no masks, and really just running the same day-to-day operations of any city like issuing business permits. And of course, public work maintenance doesn't rest. I'm sure very much like harbor operations don't rest. And just how to do that in such a new way during such an unusual time. And so just to put things in perspective, the city had very lean resources and bandwidth in terms of tackling something like economic development while being in the midst of such a dynamic situation. And just to give you an idea, at any given time, the range of employees that work for the city of Half Moon Bay agency-wide is around 30 or 35. So that's not a lot of people to carry out a large amount of work across all the departments. And sometimes being so small and having such a small budget kind of forces you to take a measured approach. And so while some cities were really quick to set up outdoor dining and try a lot of different things, sometimes we find ourselves in a position where we don't have that luxury, and we really have to take a measured approach in order to make sure we're investing wisely. So in that spirit, we realized that we could benefit from the expertise of a consultant that was specific for this time and place. We were very lucky to locate Erica Wood, who was a local resident, who had background in community engagement and grant making, and had the skill set that we needed for this very particular climate we found ourselves in. Shortly after hiring Erica, the city was in constant talks with the Half Moon Bay Coastside Chamber of Commerce. I mean, we talk several times a week anyways, but especially in regards to COVID and the devastation we were seeing on a societal level, on an economic level, not only to transient occupancy tax, the hotel tax, sales tax, local businesses were really hurting. And so we were really ratcheting up our communications and meeting as well as with the county, and realized that none of us can go it alone. And so those three entities, the chamber, the city, and San Mateo County, formed a partnership, which is how the Coastside Recovery Initiative was born. And there are two very specific goals to the initiative. The first was how to provide immediate relief to local businesses in the community that were impacted by COVID. And the second one was more long range, which was how do we advance strategies that will lead to a more equitable, vibrant, and resilient coastside community, regardless of wildfire, regardless of pandemic, regardless of many external factors that may be out of our control. In launching this effort, like any good effort, you need some values that everyone is rallied around. These guiding principles became very important throughout our process. And I won't go through all of them. Some are more self-explanatory than others, but I did really want to hone in on this first one, this lens of inclusion. So inclusion can mean a lot of things, right? And for the purposes of the initiative, there were three. There was geographic inclusion, because really we are one unified coastside economy at the end of the day. And so even though this extended beyond the city limits, for purposes of the initiative, coastside was defined as far as Devil's Slide to the north, south to the county line where San Mateo and Santa Cruz meet, and then east to Skyline Boulevard. We also wanted to make sure that there was sector inclusion. So the traditional industries that had been on the coast for a long time, small businesses, emerging micro businesses, fisheries, farms, wide sector representation. And then of course, equity, and wanted to be really mindful about targeting the groups that had been hardest hit by the pandemic. So communities of color, women, low-income residents. This was a major tenet in moving forward and doing this work in a meaningful way that would reach the people who needed to be reached the most. Another important principle was engaging new perspectives. Again, civic engagement is wonderful, and there are a lot of people who know how to plug into those systems, but there are a whole other larger sector that does not. And so hearing from some new voices and tapping into the talent on the coast was of premium importance. Also want to mention short-term wins. Recommendations and policies are very critical, but low-hanging fruit is lovely. It need not be expensive nor time-consuming. And so we were committed to, should opportunities present themselves, we wanted to be able to grab them and run with them. So for instance, the Restaurant, Brewery, and Winery Relief Fund, extending outdoor dining permits to show restaurants some flexibility where possible. sidewalk cafe permits, securing personal protective equipment wherever possible. These were all examples of real short-term wins that when presented, it would be a shame not to take advantage of all in the name of process. And then finally, prioritizing how the work gets done. So this was never about coming up with recommendations for government to solve everything. This is really about providing a space for the community after being disconnected and isolated for so long to be able to come together around a topic like economic development, put our brightest minds, our best ideas together. And really, this would only have a shot at being successful if there was community will. This could not be city driven, this couldn't be county driven, it would really have to be community driven. And so while recommendations are important and I'm very excited about them as they develop, we always kind of have this belief that the joy would be in the journey. It would be in the relationships that are formed along the way. And I'd like to think that the recent walking tour of the harbor is a great example of that. We kicked off this effort with an open house. I won't spend too much time on this. A few highlights. This was held on a Thursday evening in March. It was the same night as a school board meeting that was announcing returning to school. A major nonprofit in the area had their board meeting. To be honest with you, I was a little worried about attendance and was so delighted that we had 160 participants. Despite Zoom fatigue and everything else, in a busy Thursday evening, which allowed us to have 11 small group conversations that was just rich with feedback from concerns about the digital infrastructure on the coast, to how to strengthen our workforce and create career ladders so people don't have to go, quote unquote, over the hill if they're looking for career advancement. Just really, really great content that ended up being refined and considered ultimately in some key focus areas that Erica will expound on more. After we held that open house, we held a competitive application process to form a recovery task force. And when all was said and done, again, looking through that lens of inclusion, being very mindful to have sector inclusion, geographic inclusion, I'm very proud of the group that has been assembled. We have held about 12 working group meetings, 3 task force meetings, and I've just been very inspired and humbled by the commitment and just the passion that these individuals have for creating the next economy that works for everybody. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Erica.
Thanks, Karen, and thank you, President Chankarali and all of the commissioners. And it's great to see my friend Rita here today and know that our partner Crystalline is on the line. I feel extremely privileged to be doing this work because, as Karen said, I am a 15-year, almost full-blown Coastside resident. I know I have another 10 years to go. And it's deeply meaningful to be able to do this important work for the place where I live. I have been someone who has commuted over the hill for work for the better part of my career. So it's really nice to be putting my energies to good use here at home. So Karen talked about the incredible task force that we have. With their help, we honed in on 4 key issue areas. And then we were able to organize those task force members into 4 working teams. The first is our Team Innovate. And this is the team that's really thinking about what do we do to diversify the economy so we are less reliant on tourism and hospitality, which, as everyone knows, were industries that were really hard hit. And what are new types of job opportunities and ways of working that we want to think about and incentivize? So that's incredibly exciting. At the same time, our Team Thrive group is really focused on how we make sure we retain the current businesses that are here and our wonderful array of nonprofits working up and down the coastside region to improve the quality of life and help our residents. And it's not just about ensuring they can survive these challenging times, it's really about how they can thrive and what supports will be necessary to get there. Team Vibrant is our team that's thinking about spaces and how we ensure that we have vibrant commercial and community spaces that are teeming with life and teeming with activity, so that we can realize the full economic potential. And it's great to hear about some of the things that are happening within the Harbor District on that front. And then Team Eco is our group who's really looking at, we celebrate that we live in one of the most beautiful places on earth. So how do we think about our natural assets as a way to help drive economic growth and do so in ways that are true to our values of stewardship and sustainability? So that is our Team Eco. There is a fifth working team that is yet to be activated that will be focused on digital infrastructure. And as everyone on the coast knows, we have challenges with internet, among other things. At our open house, people talked about it being frustrating and fragile. And we recognize that for that particular team, we're going to need to pull in expertise from the private sector, from the public sector, beyond who is currently participating on the task force. So stay tuned, more to come on that team. We can go to the next slide. Our progress to date, Karen touched on some of this. I like to think about it in terms of all the input that we've received, and then what are some of the insights that we've gained. So Karen talked about the open house. We've had 3 recovery task force meetings, 12 working team meetings. We've also hit the street. We did a walking tour of downtown with the Historical Association. We went to Pescadero. We went to the harbor, and I want to give a huge thanks to President Corrali and Jim for making that possible. It was fascinating, and I think really brought to life the issues beyond what we can accomplish over Zoom. And then this last piece is true to one of our principles about being creative and trying new things. So we have teamed up with Stanford, and we're using an app that enables us to collect photos and recordings from anyone who wants to participate. And we've asked them to take pictures and give us recordings on what they think contributes to and detracts from a vibrant economy. So we have over 130 photos and more on their way. So it'll be exciting to see that data. In terms of things we've learned, well, we've learned a lot. People have had a lot to say, and we know the challenges are many. There's sort of this duality in terms of we recognize the positive aspects of tourism and we recognize the challenges associated with tourism. So how can we minimize challenge and really capitalize on the people that want to come here, and how can we connect them to our local economy and get them to invest more in our local economy? Infrastructure, I talked about. Capital took the form of, startup capital for entrepreneurs, and we have many on the coast side that we'd like to support. Also, flexible forms of capital, loan capital for small businesses, lines of credit. These are standard things for businesses. And unfortunately, we don't have a bank partner that is locally focused. We have big banks with branch offices. So we're really thinking creatively with Crystalline, thanks to her leadership on ideas around revolving loan funds as an example, or microloans. I talked about the commercial and community spaces. So the next piece to touch on is, we have talked in numerous teams about the multiple agencies that have governance over the coast side, and particularly when it comes to land use. And Karen and I are in a real live case study right now with a restaurant that is dealing with 2 private landowners on both sides of the restaurant and 2 different public agencies trying to figure out a parking strategy so that they can continue to use their extended parklet space. So it has really brought to life how this gets really complicated. And if you're a business that's trying to stay afloat and do your day-to-day work, having to interface with these different agencies can be challenging. And then getting to the next economy, we had a glimpse of that at the Mushroom Farm, the former Campbell Soup production facility down in Pescadero. There are some amazing things happening there around regenerative agriculture, solar technology, microgrids, and thinking about how we can use that to modernize farming practices in ways that are sustainable. And it gets us thinking about, what's next, say, for the commercial fishing industry. These are really exciting conversations that we're engaging in. So to give you all a sense of kind of where we are in this initiative in terms of timeline, we are in June, the point at which we will have an initial set of working solutions that will take the form of recommendations. Over the months of July and August, we'll want to socialize those recommendations and get further input. And we would love to come back to a board meeting if you have time to get your thoughts and reactions to some of those recommendations, all with the goal of by September having a final slate that will be made available in a public report. We are in a dynamic, changing context. It continues. So this is our best thinking in terms of timeline right now. And as Karen said, the recommendations will be important, but if there are things we can act on now, be assured we are taking action and we're getting some things moving. So that's our journey slide. Before we open it up for questions, I would just emphasize the fact that, this is in many ways been like a civic awakening. Karen and I have talked about that in our working teams, and it has been so inspiring to see the people that are engaging with us, that are connecting for the first time, and that we're working across sectors and we're working across boundaries and working across agencies to try and create a better and stronger coastside community. So with that, we'll open it up for any questions, anything you heard that is of interest. And we're particularly excited about engaging with all of you, and know you're in the middle of a master plan process. We are leaning into that and we'll support it in whatever way we can.
Thank you so much, Erica and Karen. Your report was very informative. I love that picture too, by the way. We missed the salmon picture. Erica, where's that?
We have it. We'll bring it back for the next time we talk with all of you.
Okay, perfect. So I would love to open up a discussion for the commissioners to chime in and give your thoughts on what's happening, or if you have any questions. Any comments?
Well, I'm thrilled to see this work going on, and thank you, Erica and Karen, for the presentation. There's so much going on that I've been unaware of, and I'm going to share this presentation with my networks.
Okay, Commissioner Lorenas?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for that presentation, both of you. I look forward to the Harbor District working with you, and we will be more than happy to see where this goes. And thanks again.
Commissioner Zemke?
Yes, a great presentation. I guess it's a real model on community engagement, and I was impressed. Very nice presentation.
Thank you. If anyone from the public would like to make a comment, I'll open it up to comments from the public as well. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised, so I'll close public comment, and then we will move on to Rita Mancera's part of the presentation as an example of what she's done and what's working. So welcome, Rita.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. It's very nice to join your meeting and also to see so many friendly faces, to see Erica here and to myself get an update on the work that has been happening with the recovery group. And I also want to highlight that I'm very proudly a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And I agree, Crystalline has taken so much lead into making the community a better place for everyone. So the example that I want to share here is part of the response that Puente did over the CCU fire, and I hope that you will find some of this process especially useful to other processes, especially for engagement, but also for implementing direct support to businesses. I hope you're familiar with Puente. If you haven't, I have not done a good job then, but Puente is a nonprofit organization. We operate in Pescadero, La Honda, Loma Mar, and San Gregorio, what we call the South Coast. And we foster wellness and prosperity for the South Coast residents, especially through advocacy and implementation of programs related to health, education, and economic security. And we've been around for more than 20 years now. So this is very different than what Puente usually is engaged with. We do support our community more as individuals, and we partner mostly with our local school district and with other nonprofits. When the CCU fire affected our community, you probably hear we were engaged along with other organizations in the response. And with the fund that we put in place, the Fire Relief Fund, we actually supported a lot of individuals on recovering the lost wages for the 2 to 4 weeks that they were under evacuation orders. Some people had bigger losses, and we supported with that. But it wasn't until, let me make sure that I can click here. It wasn't until earlier this year that we were aware about the deep impact on businesses related to the fire. And I think because all our outreach, right, was directed to individuals, I think that's why we also hear less from organizations. And until we put a message directly to them talking about outreach, communication, and engagement, it was then until we got more information about that. But it was one of our board members, a Mexican farm worker, who was explaining us that when they came back from their evacuation, all the pipes had melted on the farm. And so they started just rolling and explaining the losses in terms of the equipment, the crops that they couldn't harvest, the crops that they couldn't plant, the farmers markets they didn't go to. And we realized that they have had also bigger losses. So we decided to do something we've never done before, which was to launch an RFP, a request for proposals, to support these business and organizations directly. We wanted to open it up particularly for 3 areas. One, it was for direct impact that they had. They lost, like I said, sheds, equipment, water, facilities. And then because of the evacuation, they have their losses on, the harvesting, their farmers market. Some of them stay behind also to fight the fires. And then, of course, and this is where I recognize that initially we didn't think about businesses. It was because we thought that the insurance was going to cover their losses. And what we've learned is that either they have very limited coverage, or the insurance, it was taking such a long process that they needed resources right now to make the improvements to then be sustainable and to go back on the regular operation of their business. So what we did was to launch this RFP again for the first time, including businesses. We have done a very small portion of grants for nonprofits. And of course, because we focus on our area, this was particularly for businesses and organizations on these 4 towns of unincorporated San Mateo County. By the way, all these pictures came out from those applications. These are pictures that I had not seen, and it was something that I'll explain in a little bit about the review process of the applications. But it was very emotional to hear from the business themselves about how many of them left with, leaving their properties on fire. we wanted the purpose to cover potentially three things, either the damage and the loss due to the fire, also considering that some of them maybe didn't have a lot of loss in that area, but they lost their revenue that as a business they could have in those, depending, some of them were 2 weeks, some of them were 4 weeks. And then it was important for us to start thinking about resiliency and that preparedness for other circumstances like another fire. And so that is what we launched on the RFP. What I think it was the most exciting for us, it was that it was a thoughtful process, and I want to share with you how that went. So first, we got aware of this impact, and so we are working with a project manager who actually we deployed to go and to meet with this first farmer, hear about everything that they had to share with her about the impact that they had suffered, and tell her who else should we be talking to. And we ended up talking to several local businesses and gathering information about the impact that they had so that the RFP then was informed based on that. We created a relief committee who was reviewing all the process, all the documentation, the eligibility requirements that we had set forth, and eventually was the committee that did also the review. We have to be thoughtful about the criteria, and we did the award size based on the budget that we had, based on all the contributions that people have made to Puente that were directly to be used for fire relief, and then very mindful about the process. And this part was important because once we launched the RFP, of course, there's many businesses who have no experience on applying for a grant, for example. And so Elena, who was our project manager, she was able to provide that technical assistance to the businesses that needed it. And we also wanted to make the process a very simple way where people could explain what was the impact, document their loss, document, the amount that they lost with paperwork that they had. So for example, the people that documented, or the business that documented loss because of the lack of farmers markets that they attended, they were able to show the regular income on their farmers market before the fire, and then how many weeks they didn't make it to the fire. And then we wanted to do outreach. We knew that it was something new for Puente, so we wanted the community to know that, yes, we actually meant businesses this time and organizations to be included. We hosted over Zoom an information session, we recorded it, and then we shared it with everyone else. I am fortunate to have this contact information of the different farmers in the area, so we share all that information with all of them also by email, and we were available if they had any questions. And then the application process itself, we were a committee, but 3 of us review each of the applications, and we developed together a bracket of what we were looking for to assign certain points so that we could ensure that it was a fair process for all the participants that submitted an application. We ended up receiving 12 applications. We denied 1. We're waiting for an addendum for another one, but we have approved 10 so far. Of course, some of them didn't have experience, and so they were follow-up questions about timeline, about the capacity to get this done within the time frame of the grant calendar that we have set forth. And then we received those addendums from them, and we just this past week we sent all the contracts, and we're cutting checks tomorrow. And then we're going to go into a process of sharing with the community at large the process and who received these grants. Now, because this was a different process, we also reached out to Philanthropic Ventures Foundation, who share a lot of their expertise on being grant makers. And then we're currently preparing for a second round because we have heard from other businesses now that they either were not aware of it or they still were not sure that as businesses they could apply for this funding. So on this first round, we funded 3 nonprofits and 7 businesses. The top grant that we had said that we would approve it was $40,000. So some of these ones that were approved range between $15,000 to $40,000, and so far what has been awarded is $343,000. There's one application that we're still reviewing and waiting for some addendum documents. And then we're already in conversation with another foundation to provide a little bit more funding so that the second round is as robust as this one. And in the spirit of transparency, which is one of our values, we will be sharing the names of all the different businesses and nonprofits that received the funding on this first round. And I don't know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Rita. Thanks for being here too. So I'll open it up to Commissioner questions or comments.
Very good presentation. Thanks for the information.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorenas? Oh, you're on mute, Ed.
There we go. Thank you for your presentation. I'm hoping the Harbor District at some point can help you. I know the board is doing some work with providing safety materials at some point and for our beaches, which the residents of the South Coast use. And maybe there's some other aspects of what the Harbor District's charter is that we can work together on. Look forward to it. So thank you again.
You're mute, Virginia.
Sorry. So thank you. Thanks to all of y'all for coming in and making your presentations. So Rita is the first example that, Puente is the first example that we've highlighted. But Karen and Erica, you know, we may actually ask y'all to come back for more updates, and I would love to get some other examples, you know, that you're hearing, you know, good stories about, so that, you know, we can figure out a way to continue the collaboration. I think, Erica, your comment about engagement is so true. I saw that when y'all visited the harbor, and I'm still in touch with some of the people who came to visit, and I'm so glad I am. I mean, just to even think through ideas or talk about ideas. So keep up the great work, and just please let us know if there are any other examples that you think that we should highlight. I actually called on Rita just because I know the work that she's been doing, but you know, there's also possibly Coastside Hope, or even ALAS, or you know, any one of those organizations. So like I said, we're not trying to single out any particular organization, but instead are trying to make sure that we're able to get the full picture for the entire Coastside Recovery Initiative. So we'll just keep in touch, Rita, Erica and Karen, and figure out when y'all can come back. I think that it's something that you're interested in doing periodically for updates.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So I see that Chrislyn from the Half Moon Bay Coastside Chamber of Commerce is also an attendee right now. I don't know, Chrislyn, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but if you would like to make a comment too, I know that your chamber has been working so hard with just the recovery in Half Moon Bay, but also on the coast, which I think kind of go hand in hand, and they spill over to each other. So again, we're working on a much broader collaborative basis. So Chrislyn, I don't know if you have any comments that you'd like to make. Again, not to put you on the spot, but I didn't want you to think that we were ignoring you, because you're such an important part of this collaboration.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Actually, quite honestly, my head is so big right now, it might not fit through the door with all these beautiful comments. I'm just really honored to have the chamber be a part of all of these great things and all of these wonderful people. And, you know, the chamber is in a unique position where we're the only nonprofit business organization that stretches the coastside. So we cover the whole region from the tunnel to the county line and back to 35. So it's a real treat to be able to work with all the different organizations and figure out where to bridge the gaps and make sure that everybody is aware of what everybody else is doing. And couldn't be working with you know, the even better people. Everybody's amazing, and just really appreciative of all the love and appreciation that all of these executives and leaders put into every possible thing that we're doing. So I think it's only going to get more kick butt as time goes on, and everybody's super proud of our work. And thank you to the Harbor for everything that you guys do. We're just really a freaking awesome team.
Thank you, Crystalline. So I'll open it up to the public again if there's any comments or questions. I don't see any hands raised, so we'll conclude with this item. So you're welcome to stay, Erica, Karen, and Rita. I think Rita may have another meeting, but you're welcome to stay. If not, we totally understand. We hope that if you do stay, you'll get something out of the rest of the meeting. Thank you again, and we look forward to bringing y'all back. Erica, I don't know if you're trying to say something, but you're on mute. Okay, I think she just got off. So we'll move on to item 10, which is the Mavericks Festival LLC request for special event permit with permitting fee waiver. General Manager Pruitt.
Good afternoon once again, President Chincarelli, commissioners. The district has received a request for a permit to host the first annual Mavericks Festival Awards ceremony on October 30th on board Pillar Point Harbor. The event would be hosted by Mavericks Festival LLC in cooperation with Sea Huggers. Part of their request for the permit, commercial activity permit, they've also requested an 80% waiver of those fees. The total fees for the event are $11,800, including a $5,000 application fee and a $6,800 permit fee for the special event number 6, which is the largest event that we permit at the harbors. The 8% fee waiving being requested, it totals $9,440. And granted, the organization would pay $2,360 in permitting fees. Again, they'd pay $2,360 for the permit from the district. The event would be, I think it's very important to point out, the event would not only benefit the event organizers and their goals, it'd also be a great benefit to the district and its missions, as it will have a strong emphasis on water safety and surfing safety and water quality, especially with the support of Sea Hugger as a co-applicant. The businesses in Pillar Point Harbor, other businesses will also benefit from the thousands of visitors that are expected. So the restaurants and other services provided by the district or tenants should be positively impacted with that many visitors. The district will also host informational table on what's going on currently with the district in projects, and also to include a master plan progress update table. So we'll be down there telling all the visitors of the great things the district is doing and how we're getting them accomplished. The other aspect of this permit, it would be greatly beneficial, is just to educate the people of what the district offers in total, from off the dock sales to fishing charters and kayak and surfboard rentals. Again, enjoying the coast and providing access to the coast. There will be no water events during the award ceremony. Everything will be held in parking lot A, which is the parking lot between the harbor master's office and Tenant Row. We expect a very, very large turnout for this and believe that it will be a positive reflection, not only on the event, but on the district itself for highlighting such a thing. One other thing I want to point out is safety organizations will also be invited to include the Coast Guard on search and rescue, and they'll be coming in, if they accept our invitation, to also host a table or a static display to promote water safety. Barring any questions, that's my report and request. And the recommended motion for this is the general manager, authorize the general manager to issue a special event permit with an 80% fee waiver in the amount of $9,440. Mavericks Festival LLC, in cooperation with Sea Hugger, for the 2021 Mavericks Festival, take place on October 30th, 2021.
Thank you so much, General Manager Pruitt. So I'll open it up to public comment. I do see that we have a hand raised from John Ullum.
Thank you, Commissioner Corrali. I would remind you that at your last meeting, you imposed a 5% rate hike on the men and women who make a living out at the harbor fishing. And you imposed it on other people, but you imposed it on them. And they deserve the same kind of breaks as anybody else. So I'm really surprised that you would entertain the idea of giving away $9,500 or so of community money to an organization that in the past, frankly, has never worked out well for the Harbor District. I noticed that there's going to be drinking allowed at this event. Has anybody discussed how that would impact the liability of the Harbor District, or if drinking isn't even a good idea for a parking lot event? I noticed that they say they will get all the permits. What past experience has shown is that the people who run Mavericks are not particularly concerned about getting all the permits. Do you even know what permits do they need? Do they need to get a coastal development permit? Do they need to get a parking permit from the county? Are they going to be providing an event insurance for you so that the district isn't put at risk for anything that happens over there? The whole thing looks pretty sloppy to me as far as an agreement. I understand that Ms. Corrali wants to do this. She's really good friends with Jeff and Cassandra Clark and with Brian Overfelt. She's often enjoyed their support and endorsements and use of Brian's facilities for campaign events. And here she is now going to advocate for a $9,000 gift to these people. I believe there is at least a conflict of interest that should be disclosed. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other public comments. If there's anyone else who would like to make a public comment, this would be the time. I'll close public comment and entertain commissioner comments as well and questions to the general manager. Commissioner Reiering?
Yeah, I am thrilled that Mavericks has found a way to continue celebrating our local big wave surf contest and the athletes who surf it. I do believe that it will benefit our community, and I appreciate that the event will address water safety and environmental protection. Considering that Sea Hugger is the vehicle by which Mavericks is qualifying for the not-for-profit fee discount and the beverage license, I'd like to see Sea Hugger get a bit more than 10%, but that's just me. I'm very much hoping that this event is a great success and that the viability of it will allow Mavericks to fund a much larger percentage of the prize money for the awards next year.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorenas, I see that your mic you're unmuted. If you'd like to make a comment or ask questions of the general manager.
First, a couple of questions just to point out for folks that are listening. There's two organizations here. One is the Mavericks LLC, which is a for-profit organization. And then there's Sea Hugger, which is a not-for-profit organization. Is that right, Jim?
Yes, Mavericks LLC is for-profit, and Sea Huggers is a non-profit 501c3, as opposed to a not-for-profit.
So just on that basis, I don't believe that we should be giving a for-profit organization any discount, as was pointed out by a member of the public. We've been asking our other tenants to provide us with more income. We should not support an LLC like this. But more importantly, I'd say there's no way I will vote to approve a festival celebrating an organization that has a long history of discrimination against women athletes. Equity in prize money and access to the contest for women to the Maverick Surf Contest was only achieved after years of having these contests in place when the Coastal Commission and the State Lands Commission made it a condition of their permits. The recent contest was run without any such permits, and the organizers have gone back to their old habits, discriminating against women athletes at every level. This contest, while advertising itself as providing equal access and prize money for women, is nothing of the sort. Here's the facts. 14 male finalists, 2 female finalists, 4 male prize winners, 1 female prize winner. So how is this equitable? Just as the California Coastal Commission and the State Lands Commission have done, we should use the power of our permitting process to ensure equity and inclusion in all activities that we support and permit. So I urge this board not to approve this. We should not support an organization that discriminates against women athletes and should not approve this permit.
Thank you, Commissioner Zemke.
Yeah, I guess I have to apologize. I have no knowledge on the past practices of any of these organizations. I'm leaning towards supporting this on the basis that this is the first year that it's being done. And I do want to be sensitive to Ed's comments, but we kind of revisit this if it's going to turn out to be an annual event next year, that we really kind of take a harder look at this and look at whether or not we really need to give that big a discount to this organization. So I guess on that, I would agree with the 80% discount for this year, but skeptical about doing that big a discount in the future.
Thank you. So I'll just make a quick comment. I totally understand where everyone's coming from, and I agree with Commissioners Zemke and Reiering in terms of the discount. I also look at this as part of our recovery efforts to bring in business as well, so that our tenants can be supported. But don't forget, some of the revenues that come in for our tenants are also helping the Harbor District as well. So I think this is a very first step to the recovery efforts on the coast. I think that whatever happens here will also spill over to the downtown Half Moon Bay, for example, which is an area that relies a lot on tourism. And, hopefully next year, Commissioner Zemke, as you said, we can, review, the discounted rate. We have discounted permits before for Fish and Fleet, for example, where this board has voted unanimously to discount 100% because it's a nonprofit. So, I think that we're trying to support a nonprofit as well, Sea Hugger, who has partnered with us continuously over the years, especially with the Sea Bin project and trying to keep our harbor area, the water clean, which is why I'm hoping that, since this is the first year, some of that money will go back to them, which I think it's 10%, and hopefully that will continue to grow as this event gets its sea legs, so to speak. So I'll entertain a motion unless there's any more discussion or questions from the commissioners.
I have a few more comments, if I may.
Sure.
I'm happy you pointed out the Fish and Fleet that we've run several times. That is a way that we can bring the public to the harbor. And since it is 100% nonprofit, it's a way that we support all the businesses and the thriving fishing community in our harbor. This, however, as I said before, is a for-profit LLC tagging nonprofit organization. If this was run by Sea Hugger 100% like Fish and Fleet, I would fully support it. But it's not. The money that this organization is going to make will go 80% to supporting its goal, which is to give money to the athletes. I think it's the wrong way to go, and I will not support it.
Any other comments or questions by commissioners? Nancy, you're on mute. If you're trying to speak, I can't tell.
Yes, and I will go ahead and make the motion. Of all of the concerns are noted, and including my own. But I do agree with Bill that we're going to try this out this year and hope that the event is successful and welcoming to everyone in the community, and that their ask next year will be greatly reduced because of the success. And the motion, I move that the general manager be authorized to issue a special event permit with an 80% fee waiver in the amount of $9,440 to Mavericks Festival LLC in cooperation with Sea Hugger for the 2021 Mavericks Festival to take place on October 30th, 2021.
Is there a second? Commissioner Zemke seconded it. Okay, let's go for a vote, please, Melanie.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
No.
President Shane Crawley,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries, and thank you to members of the public who spoke. We'll move on to item 11, which is the final budget, fiscal year 2021-22 operating budget and 5-year capital improvement plan. And this is to adopt resolution number 21-8. Julie, I believe this is your item.
Yes. Good afternoon, President Shane Crowley, commissioners. I had this all figured out on how to view it in full screen mode, but then I clicked Control L and it went away. So there you go.
You're good now, Julie.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, so today we hold our public hearing to allow the general public to comment on the proposed final operating budget and 5-year capital plan for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. The budget document that you see before you was a collaborative effort between this board, all of the administrative staff, along with the invaluable input from John Moran, Chris Tibby, Carrie Smith, and Jim Merlo. I would like to publicly thank everyone for their efforts of putting this document together. The preliminary budget presented and approved by the board on April 21st, 2021 was very close to the final proposed budget that you find before you today. I will go through some of the changes that are spelled out in the staff report, where the 2021 projection that was presented previously, it was increased by an additional $57,000 in working capital. That is made up of an addition of $3,000 in event revenue, a reduction in interest revenue of $11,000 due to drop in investment earnings rates, a reduction in utilities of $83,000 due to elimination of COVID-related trash pickups, and an increase in legal fees of $18,000, which is associated with the fish buyers arbitration. The final budget has a positive variance between the preliminary budget of $28,000. That was due to an increase of $73,000 in anticipated property taxes, which was initially expected to increase by 3.86%. but now is expected to increase by 4.8% due to increased property values and decrease of $11,000 in interest revenue, and an increase of $34,000 in property liability insurance coverage. In addition, the capital project expenditures have been revised to more accurately allocate project expenditures between the current fiscal year and next fiscal year. Staff will present the budget to the Government Finance Officers Association for consideration of a distinguished budget presentation award. In order to meet the award program criteria, the budget must include policy, operations guide, financial plan, and a communications plan. This year, the staff incorporated information so that we could meet the operations guide criteria. In summary, the final budget estimates $12,853,000 in total revenues, $6,340,000 in salaries and benefits. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page here. In salaries and benefits, and $3,472,000 in non-personnel expenditures, and provides $41,000 in additional working capital that can be used for capital project funding. And I'm just going to go through this quickly because we've been through this budget presentation. This is going to be the third time. And so I'll just go down to the summary, the 5-year forecast. For fiscal year 2021, the district expects to fund approximately $9 million for capital projects. The estimated working capital balance at the end of this fiscal year is expected to be approximately $21.2 million, with $2.4 million going to the reserve account, leaving $18.8 million available to fund capital projects. Over the next 5 years, it is expected that revenues will exceed expenditures and another $7.9 million will be added to the available working capital balance. Over the next 5 years, the priority projects identified in the budget are expected to cost around $19 million. Staff recommends that the board adopt Resolution 21-08, approving the final budget for fiscal year 21-22 operating budget and the 5-year capital improvement program. I'd be happy to go through this document in greater detail, or if anyone has any comments and or questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Julie. I'll open it up to public comment because I see that we have a hand raised from Mr. John Olam. You have 2 minutes, Mr. Olam.
Julie, could you stop sharing so I could share?
Oh, yes, of course.
Thank you. Sorry, we're doing a little hiccup here. I have to push John first. There we go. Go ahead, John.
Hey, I apologize if I missed something there. I'm one of those unfortunate people that has to work during the middle of the day. So, any rate, looking through your budget, I have a question about funding for Johnson Pier. My understanding was that there was $7 million that had been approved and was in a bank ready to be spent. But I'm looking at this final budget and forecasts on capital expenditures, and it makes very clear there is not one dime for money to go towards the repair of Johnson Pier. And as everybody in this room knows, Johnson Pier is not up to snuff. It's not big enough. It's worn out. It's not a safe dock anymore. So what is the truth, Julie? Was there $7 million? Did it get reallocated to something else? Or is there $7 million that I don't understand that's out there to pay for Johnson dock repairs? I've been asking about this for about 4 months, 5 months now. No one will give me a straight answer. Ms. Kiraly says that there's $7 million available for this, and I can't find it in the budget. Could you please explain that to me? Thank you.
Would you like me to address Mr. Ullum?
Sure.
Okay, so in this particular budget, this budget document that's under consideration for adoption today, there is no funding for the Johnson Pier that's included in this budget. We are looking at funding options. We do have some money that can be allocated to that project. We're looking at maybe doing some financing. We're continuing to look at grant opportunities. And so with adoption of this budget, those items haven't been identified in detail yet, but we can amend the budget mid-year. So if we determine that that funding becomes available, we can bring it back to the board and do a budget amendment. But you are correct that in this budget document, there is no allocation of funds for the Johnson Pier project.
President Kiraly, if I can make a comment on that.
Yes, thank you.
So back in 2019 and 20, when we were developing the fiscal year 2021 budget, which we're operating under today, we had to, based on our expected impact of COVID and our current revenues and our list of approved projects, the budget, we identified that we only had about $17 million in capital funds to fund close to $50 million in capital improvement projects. So the district had to make a decision on what projects to fund. We had a public meeting on that, and we had went through some prioritization of those budgets, our items and projects, and those are reflected in the 2021 budget. And again, they're repeated in the 21-22 budget because the priorities haven't changed. With respect to the $7 million, President Kiraly last year had made a correction to her comment on the record that she...
The recording has stopped.
One moment. Melody, can you start the recording?
Melody just dropped off, so I'll try to start it again. Oh.
I'd be happy to record if you like.
Oh, I got it.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. The President Kiraly corrected herself on the record that $7 million is no longer available for the Johnson Pier as it's been reallocated into the approved projects. And that's what we're working on today, is the approved projects and priorities as presented in this budget and also as presented in last year's budget, as they are very, very similar.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Jim. So I'm going to close public comments since I don't see any other hands raised. And I'll open it to commissioner comments and questions, if there are any. If there are none, is there a motion to...
I have a comment.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Lorenas, please.
I was muted. So this on the agenda allows me to once again explain why I'm going to vote no for this, even though staff has done a wonderful job. Julie, you've done a great job with presenting the budget and working through it with both staff and us commissioners and the public. John Ullum brought this up, and I agree with him that we should, as part of this budget, we should have more emphasis on doing something with our pier. Looking for money could take forever, and we should definitely start by doing some major projects. And I'm sorry not to approve it because there's a lot that I love in this budget, and you all know what that is. So thanks. That's all I got.
Virginia?
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner
President
Ryrie.
I just want to thank Julie and her staff for their hard work on this. I know that for people like Julie and Virginia and Tom, this kind of accounting is like a picnic in a shady grove. I'm very grateful to have the caliber of professionals that we do working with us and overlooking our budgets all the time. Thank you so much for your work.
Commissioner Zemke.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that and just thank the staff for all the hard work that went into this budget. And I will make a motion, if that's okay.
Please.
Okay. I would move that we adopt resolution number 21-08, approving the final budget, fiscal year 2021-22, operating budget and 5-year capital improvement program.
Is there a second? Okay, so there's a motion by Commissioner Zemke and a second by Commissioner Ryring. If there are no further discussion or questions by the board, let's do a roll call, please. I don't know is Melanie back?
Yep, I'm back.
Oh, great. Thanks, Melanie. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lorenas?
No.
President Chang Corrali?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryrie?
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke?
Aye.
So that motion carries, and we'll move on to item 12, which is the Income and Revenue Ad Hoc Committee report by Commissioner Ryring and myself. And essentially, I, as the board president, created this ad hoc committee to look at income and revenue opportunities. And we discussed the cost of living increases for slip and birthing rates and the commercial activity permit. And, mainly to make sure that we're able to maintain our operations and management of the pier, and especially in anticipation of, the growing number of people who might be coming to the coast. So that is why this is on the agenda today. And, there's a recommendation motion by the committee. So that's my part. I know that Commissioner Ryring has some comments as well. Commissioner Ryring?
Yeah. I have comments for this item. I was kind of saving them for our discussion. Are there any public comments that come ahead of mine?
Oh, well, you know what? Let me open it up to public comment. Thank you for the reminder, Commissioner Ryring. I don't see any hands raised. Do you see anything, Melanie?
No hands are raised.
Okay, then I'll close public comment and we'll open it up to commissioner comments and questions. Commissioner Ryring, thank you.
All right. Well, I know this is a particularly sensitive time for raising rents, and we discussed this quite a bit in our meeting. But in order to support businesses at the harbor, we need to be able to maintain our infrastructure. And especially with the increased number of people on the pier, it takes money and good management, and we don't have a lot of fiscal options. I believe this is a modest increase to rates that are already below market, and the increase is very reasonable. Jim, we had some questions arise after getting feedback at our community meeting, and I think you were going to speak to them today.
The community meeting, Commissioner Ryring, one of the major talking points presented was equality across the harbor, that off the boat sales who bring in a lot of people to the harbor and put a lot of wear and tear on the harbor also pay their share of the access fee, which is charged to charter boats who pay $241 right now per guest to cover that wear and tear on the dock facilities, the restrooms and parking lots. Right now, and for years, the parking lots have been paying, and now the charter boats have been paying that fee. And there were several people that brought up that they should, the off the boat sales should pay a similar fee to cover the expenses of wear and tear now that the off the dock sales are the majority of visitors to the dock versus charter boat operations. And as discussed earlier by me on the off the dock sales and the goals and objectives, we're working on that right now with the commercial activity to address that inequity, and we'll bring it back to the board recommending implementation on January 1st, 2022. Does that answer your question?
So is it at that time that we'll be looking at a tier system versus flat rate and the bracket method and other ways of structuring these fees?
Yes, several people brought up bracketed for the commercial activity permits for off the boat. So we're going to be researching that and presenting that as one option to the board.
Great, thank you, Jim.
Any other commissioner comments or questions?
I guess I'll make just a comment that I don't want to be insensitive to the plight of many of our fishermen down there, but also noting that our costs have gone up during the COVID-19. So I think that this is totally reasonable to go ahead with the 5% increase.
Commissioner Lorenas?
I have to recuse myself from voting on this or commenting.
Thank you. I've actually closed public comment, but because we have 2 hands raised, I am going to take public comment. So, John Ullum.
I just can't believe I can sit there and watch you. I can't believe I can sit there and watch you guys talk about how you need to get more money from your renters because your costs have gone up. Yet because somebody's a friend of Virginia Jane Corrales, they get cut a really good break and get 80% off. Apparently you don't have any pictures out there, Virginia, of you hanging around fishermen. And you don't have any friends in the fishing industry who count for anything. So those people, they can just pay. But if you're a good buddy of Virginia Jane Corrales, you can come to the district and ask for 80% off. And they'll do it, 90, yeah, they'll do it. And because it's the right thing to do. That's the same as because you guys are expending more money or experiencing more costs, the right thing to do is to stick it to the hardworking men and women who work out there for a living, not a game. It's not a hobby. It's how they make their livelihoods. And you want to charge them more. People should be ashamed of yourselves.
William Smith. Mr. Smith, you're on if you would like to make your public comment still. I think you're on mute now.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for taking this out of order. I appreciate that. The parking in the main lot has been overwhelmed by the commercial fishermen who park there for days on end. This main parking lot, the area between the harbor master's office and the shops, there is a 2-hour area and this other area which is used by the public and by our passengers. This parking lot has been overwhelmed with commercial fishermen who park there for days on end. I would like to see this main parking lot, again, between the harbor master's office and the shops, designated a 12 or 24-hour period for this. Also, the other aspect of this is that the harbor master has, I think, 6 exclusive spots there that could be moved behind and by the travel lift that is the hoist that is between the harbor master's office and the hoist. They could move those slips for the harbor masters over there, again, allowing more of the public to have access to both our vessels and for the retail stores. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I don't see any new hands raised. I will close public comment now, and I would like to just make a quick comment regarding the fee structure. And Jim, maybe just for clarification, I'm looking at the difference. So for example, for the commercial activities permits, we're looking at a $13 difference, and I'm assuming that's per year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So it's basically about a little over $1 a month, right?
For the commercial activity permit, correct.
Correct. Commercial services activity permit is $3 increase per year. So that's $3 over a 12-month period. Is that correct? Jim?
That is correct. The difference is per year because
I know. I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. The passenger service fee for commercial fishing and other charters is 12 cents per year.
It's 12 cents. Yes, it goes up 12 cents per passenger.
Per passenger per year. Okay.
That's if approved 5%.
Okay. So I agree with Commissioner Reiering that these are minimal increases that we need to maintain our harbor or our pier. So I agree that, it's not ideal, but we have to operate as well. And, we've already waived these costs for a year. And now that we're in recovery mode, we're trying to gradually get back into, making sure that things are getting back to normal. So those are my comments right now. And so are there any other questions or commissioner comments questions from commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay,
I have a comment.
Oh, we have a comment?
I have.
Please, Commissioner Lorenas.
You're coming through very broken, Ed.
Commissioner Lorenas, you're kind of in a spotty area. We can't hear you. Can you hear us? I'm sorry. Can you hear us? And actually, if you've recused yourself from this item, I'm not even sure you can even make a comment. But I'll leave that up to
I can make this comment, and that is that I'd like to finish this. I asked that these two items be split, one commercial and one for the non-commercial. And so I would have liked to have had a chance to comment on the commercial, but I can't.
Okay. Commissioner Zemke?
Okay, I would like to make a motion to concur with the staff recommendations and implement a 5% increase in fees for slips and berthing rates and commercial activity permits.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Why don't we do a roll call, please?
President Chang Crawley,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz.
He's had to recuse himself, Melanie.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
So the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Julie and Jim and staff. Please thank the administrative staff as well, Julie. Great job on everything with the budget. It's been a tough year, and I know that y'all have been just continuing to keep an eye on our financial management, and I'm just very, very happy that we're in a good place right now financially. So we'll move on to item 13, which is the purchase of 504 Avenue Alhambra, the Avenue Alhambra property. General Manager Pruitt.
Make sure I'm unmuted. Yes, good afternoon, Commissioner or President Corrali, Shane Corrali, and commissioners. The topic is the purchase of our current office building located at 504 Avenue Alhambra, El Granada, California, 94018. An opportunity was presented with the owners of the building during the COVID-19 shutdown for an opportunity for us to purchase our current building. The motion that I'm recommending is that we adopt resolution 21-09, a resolution of the board of the San Mateo County Harbor District approving a purchase and sale agreement between the district and the buyers, Working Dirt R2 LLC and Maximo Investment LLC as sellers for 504 Avenue Alhambra, El Granada, California. And then I need to add to that an increase in capital project appropriations, increased capital project appropriations by $3 million to be funded by available working capital from the 21-22 budget. The purchase of this building aligns with our core values of accountability, and that we're accountable to the public and the future generations and act with fiscal responsibility and transparency, and our strategic goals of goal 5, informed, public and well-informed, 6, good governance administration, and goal 7, ensure fiscal responsibility with strong finances and financial management. As stated earlier, we received an offer to purchase the office building and get to my notes. And the would include the entire office building, our complex, which has current renters. We will purchase the building for a cost of $3 million. And the renters inside the building right now would continue to pay their renter fees to us, and we would cease paying our rental fee of $8,800 a month, which is $105,000 annually. We'll be able to save that money with the purchase of the building. And again, as I stated earlier, we'll become the new landlords, and then we'll be able to use the revenue back into the general fund to support other activities of the Harbor District. I think this is a very sound point. I recommend that we approve this because we do have a strategic goal of owning our own administrative building, and we made strides in that direction. We did purchase a piece of property for that and looking at building it. During the COVID pandemic, certain things have arisen that causes that project to be extremely more expensive than estimated. Prices of lumber have quadrupled and supplies, and some supplies are in short supply and are back ordered or leading to very long lead times. So I think the purchasing of this building for $3 million will save the district money in the long run over building our own building currently on the coast side. And my recommendation is that we do purchase this building for the $3 million purchase price. And again, do you need me to read the motion again?
Sure, but I was going to take public comment too, but go ahead and ask. This is what you're asking for, so please read the motion, Jim.
I'm trying to save paper, do everything on my iPad.
Actually, I can read the motion if that helps.
I'm looking for my amendments.
Well, oh, okay.
I apologize.
That's okay. Why don't I just...
So the emotion is adopt resolution number 21 TAC 09, a resolution of the Board of the San Mateo County Harbor District approving a purchase and sale agreement between the district as buyer and Working Dirt R2 LLC and Maximo Investments LLC as sellers, and 4504 Avenue, Alhambra, El Granada, California 94018, and increase the capital project appropriations by $3 million to be funded by available working capital from the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget.
Thank you. So I will open this up to public comment now, and I see one hand raised. John Olam.
Thanks. You know, this might be a great idea, or it might be a horrible idea, but there's absolutely no way for me to tell. You don't tell me when the break-even point is on this $3 million deal. Just looking at the paperwork, I can guess that if it was just our rent involved, it would be 30 years before we got back that $3 million. But I know it's not that because you collect some rent, but I have no idea how much rent you collect. I had no idea that your intention was to use working capital to buy this because you don't mention how you're going to finance that in this report. This is just useless. How can any of you know if you're making a good decision or not? When is, I mean, how long, Julie, Jim, can you tell me how long would it be before the district would get back that $3 million? Would it be 5 years, 10 years? You know, that's a good timeline. If it's 20 years, 30 years, one has to wonder if that's the best spending of your money, considering that you have infrastructure that's far more vital and isn't being taken care of. I mean, it seems really arrogant that you would buy a building when you can't even have one dime to repair your most important fundamental piece of infrastructure, that'd be Johnson Pier. But maybe it is a good idea. Hard to say, because your board, your staff doesn't think enough of you or me to put together a report that would give me an honest amount of information that I could appraise and decide for myself. Does this make sense? Is this a good use of capital? Is this a good use of public dollars? I have no idea. None of you do either. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands raised, but this is the last call for public comment on this item before I close public comment. Melanie, do you see anything? Any hands raised?
No, I don't see anybody's hands raised.
Great. I will close public comment and open this up for commissioner comments and questions.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this item, but I think Jim amended the motion. So am I able to refer back to his reading of the motion? Yeah, great. Then I move to, I move in support of this motion as amended and read by General Manager James Pruitt.
Okay. I will second that, but I had a question for Jim. I remember back a month or two ago, we did have an inspection done of the property, and it was just curious what the outcome of that inspection was.
We've had the inspection came back and noted some minor and one medium issue, but nothing major with the building. And was a great report, but nothing really significant or major that would cause us concern about the building itself. We also had a phase 1 environmental study done of the building, and they came back with nothing significant noted and did not recommend a phase 2 study. So both environmentally and structurally, the building came out to be in good shape. There's some cosmetic things that we need to address, some rusting areas of the building, and then there's also some tape or sealant that needs to be replaced, but nothing significant.
Okay, great, thanks.
I do just want to say that this is exciting news and such a great outcome, especially considering the supply chain problems and upticks in cost with building new, which was our previous plan. So I'm looking forward to making the tenant improvements that are necessary and making this our home for a long time to come.
Thank you. So I have a quick question, Jim and Julie. So the $3 million will be added by today or by when to reflect this in our budget?
It's my understanding. Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, so it'll be a budget amendment. It's authorized to be updated on July 1st with the reading of Jim's
motion,
revised motion. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments or comments or questions from commissioners? Okay, let's go for a vote, please, Melanie.
Commissioner Ryring?
You're on mute, Nancy.
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke?
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz?
Aye.
President Shane Crawley?
Aye. So that motion carries. Thank you very much. So that is, oh, we have one more item. Sorry, item 14, which is to approve the parking ordinance amendment. General Manager Pruitt, would you like to kick this off?
It's loading. Last month, I presented amendments to the district parking ordinance code, section 3.35 to the board and requested permission or authorization to publicize it to the public for comment. We did publicize it as required by Harbor Navigation Code 6070.2 for the 20 days. And we received no comments or concerns with the parking ordinance as amended. And I recommend that the board approve the ordinance code as amended and execute the resolution to amend the district parking ordinance code section 3.35. And just as a reminder from the brief last month, the code is doesn't really add a lot of new information besides the fact of specifically delegating the authority to the harbor master to control parking at Pillar Point, specifically parking on the pier for trucks and for vehicles on the side of the pier to be able to ensure the safety of pedestrians and also to ensure the safety when trucks are loading the seafood at the pier terminus. Again, it's really stressing the fact that it's the harbor master who has the authority to control that in accordance with district policy on a daily basis. Pending any questions, that's my brief.
Okay. I'll open this up to public comment. I see a hand raised. William Smith.
Once again, good afternoon, commissioners. I misspoke. The presentation I raised at the before about the parking lot was intended for this item, and I had stepped out of the room, so that was my mistake. I just want to reiterate that the area of parking, since this is a parking issue, the parking between the harbor master's office and the retail stores, that area should be designated as a 12 or 24-hour parking period, and all of the other information that I presented at that time was for this item. My mistake. Thank you very much for considering it.
Thank you. Any other public comments? This would be the time to make them. I don't see any other hands raised. Do you see anyone, Melanie?
Nope, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, then I will close public comment and open up the comments and questions time for commissioners. Any questions or Commissioner Zemke?
No, it looks good to me.
Commissioner Lorenas?
No comments.
Okay, Commissioner Ryring?
Although this item may look like a small step, it's a rather large one for the Harbor District, and I'm in full support of it. So I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-07 to approve an amendment to chapter 3.35 of the San Mateo County Harbor District Ordinance Code regarding vehicle parking.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Vote count, please, Melanie. Roll call.
Commissioner Zemke?
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenas?
Aye.
President Shane Corrali?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring?
Aye.
So this motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim and Julie, for looking into all of this as well. So now we're at item E, which is our closed session item on the threat to public services or facilities. So commissioners, you should have received a link for closed session, which we will go into now. Melanie, I just wanted, so we're leaving this meeting, correct?
Yes, and I'm going to pause the recording right now, and I'll remain on the meeting. And then when you get out of the closed session, just get back into the meeting.
Using the original link going into this meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So commissioners, we're going to go into closed session right now. I'll see y'all in the other Zoom room.
The recording has stopped.
Regard to closed session, there are no reportable items. So we will move to item F, which is commissioner comments. I'll open it up to commissioner comments at this time if anyone has anything to say. Commissioner Zemke?
Yes, I'll start that off. I see that there is a public workshop scheduled for the 13th of July on the master plan. Unfortunately, I don't think that I will be available for that meeting. I will be available for the second one on August 10th. Two, I just wanted to note that the city of South San Francisco had a special council meeting on the 25th of May where they talked about their investigation of a piece of property called the Spit, or commonly referred to as the Spit at Oyster Point Marina, and an update on their progress on looking at options. Under the city, of course, is responsible for managing sea level rise and the containment of the landfill area there. And they've looked at, or they're continuing to look at three options. One is managing to sea level rise of 2100 to the year 2100, the expected sea level rise to 2050, and also a third option of looking at the cost of removing the landfill completely. They don't really have a timetable for finishing that. I know that Jim, I think, also sat in on that special, or listened in on that special meeting too. So I just wanted to report that the city is continuing their efforts to look at that.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorenas?
Yes. Well, first I'd like to thank the staff and the board president for setting up some of these meetings as special meetings so that all the commissioners can attend. The last special meeting was the one where we discussed the fees for off the dock fishing. It was very well attended. And one reason it was very well attended was because the meeting was held at 6 p.m. instead of 1 p.m. I would like to see the regular meetings go back to 1 p.m. so members of the public who have jobs and can't attend can attend. I think I'll leave it there. Oh, one other thing, actually. Traditionally, we had commissioner comments at the beginning of the meeting. We have them now at the end of the meeting. And if you'll look at our participant list, we have 6 folks in the attendees list, most of which are either media or I'd say we probably have 2 or 3 members of the public. So again, that's another place where the commissioners, such as myself, would like to be able to talk to the public and not force the public to attend the entire meeting just to hear what I have to say. Thanks.
Commissioner Ryring?
No comments. Thanks. Thank you.
So I'll just make my quick comment and update. Actually, and Commissioner Ryring, chime in here if you'd like to. Commissioner Ryring and the general manager and I actually had a tour of SAM, which I think the general manager alluded to today. And I thought it was a very informative tour, and she kind of showed us our sewer system on the coast. So thank you, Jim, for helping us set that up. And if you could please thank the executive director of SAM, that would be wonderful. Commissioner Ryring, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, good. That's a good point. It was a very interesting and informative meeting.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll go on to any future agenda items. Seeing none, we'll move on to item H, unless, I think a lot of what you also mentioned earlier on, Jim, I don't know if that could suffice as your activity reports, but if you'd like to just give one more recap, that would be great. Or not, up to you.
Nothing further report than what's documented in my report and what I've already mentioned today. But thank you.
Okay, operations. John Warren, anything top level you'd like to report?
I think everything is covered pretty thoroughly within our activity report. I will mention that we did successfully have the salmon net pen installed, removed out into the harbor, and subsequently the young salmon released, which is great, with the Coastside Fishing Club.
Great, thank you. Julie, you had quite a day too, but if you have anything to add to your administration report, now's the time.
No, it's pretty much all summarized in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank the staff again for all the hard work that they're doing. We're getting so much done this year, and I thank them for all the hard work and just, keeping things going and keeping things functioning, and also in light of increased number of visitors to the pier and what we're doing over at Oyster Point. It's significant. So thank you to everyone for just being terrific, doing a terrific job. We really appreciate that. And I'm actually hearing great things from the public, that they're very, very complimentary. In fact, just some people have commented to me that, they've never seen the harbor work better than it is right now, the Harbor District and the Harbor Board. And that's a lot of it is thanks to the staff and to the board members. So thank you, thank you. It is 3:50, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn our June meeting.
I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Lorenz?
Aye.
President Chang-Corrali?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring?
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke?
Aye.
Great. The meeting's adjourned at 3:50. Thank you very much, Melanie. Thank you.
The recording has stopped.